Hello and welcome to Bar Napkin Business. I'm Matt.
I'm Allie.
And today we meet with Brett Byman, co-founder of Nobl and then is now CEO of Retail Aware. He started several entrepreneurial ventures in college. Without further ado, let's get into the interview.
We are joined today by Brett Byman. And Brett is with Retail Aware, and he has been doing the entrepreneurship and business ownership journey for a couple of years now, and he's got an exciting new venture that he's working on, but some interesting things to get there. So thanks for joining us.
So I actually come from an entrepreneurial background. My family has owned and run a successful lifestyle business for the last 20, 25 years, a company called NICS Inc., something that most people probably wouldn't have heard of. And so for the last 25 years at that company, they do a lot of contract work, and for the particularly for the state of Nebraska, the interstate rest areas. They had the contracts to maintain the interstate rest areas.
So like
for
cleaning, contracting, I mean, what kind of stuff is that?
I grew up cleaning public toilets, yes. Yes, that's exactly right.
Work ethic comes from the hard things, right?
It's a humbling job, yeah, for sure. But I guess from that and from kind of watching my father start and run successful businesses and really take advantage of various opportunities, I always knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but I guess I didn't necessarily know what that was going to be.
Okay, so how did Nobl start, right? You were in college. Tell us how that started.
It was actually in December of 2012. I had worked with my co-founder at Nobl, Raymond Page, in a small event in Lincoln earlier that year. It was a tech entrepreneurship bootcamp that was hosted by New Tech Ventures and the university. It was a 5-day course to where you paid like $200, you had to apply, but it was a group of entrepreneurs, engineers, software engineers, biology majors, whatever it might be, some really intelligent people that attended this tech entrepreneurship bootcamp. I was one of the only business people at this event, and Ray and I, as
everybody else was just techie?
Yeah, it was amazing because a lot of founders struggle to find tech talent and tech co-founders. And as fate had it, Ray and I got placed on the same team, and Ray ended up reaching back out to me 6 months later, back in December of 2012, and said, hey, there's this opportunity in Lincoln. It's called now the Jumpstart Challenge. Back then it was the Healthcare Connect competition.
Oh, right.
He, being a software engineer, an electrical engineer, he had another engineer that he was working with. He said, hey, we can build an awesome product. That's not a problem. We got that figured out, but what we really need is somebody to come in and pitch it, sell it, and that's when he kind of pulled me onto the team.
No offense to the developers, but
No.
right, they're just not presenters.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
And actually, Adam, I forget his last name, one of the founders of Sphera was just presenting in Omaha yesterday and controlled that room. It was awesome. But that's actually something, Ray, I give a lot of credit to. He had built enough businesses to realize, like, hey, if this is something that we want to take to the next level, we need a team to fill these roles or these skill gaps that they had. And so that's when they pulled me onto the team. And we said, hey, we need a designer to really design and build a brand around this, which is when we brought Katie onto the team. And then we presented this idea to administrators at Bryan Health in January of 2013, and we ended up winning. But what they gave us was a 120-day test bed period to put the solution in a live hospital environment and see if it worked. If it did work, perfect, problem solved. If it didn't, it would have been a simple conversation of, nice try, guys, good luck with whatever it is you end up doing next.
And that's the hardest part, is getting into the hospital to test your idea.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Having that partner up front was critical. Without a partner like Bryan Health, we never would have been able to start a business in the healthcare IT space.
All right, so Nobl goes up, gets up and running.
Yep.
Your CEO, Ray's CTO, Katie, what was Katie? CMO?
Yep, chief marketing.
And then you got to raise money, right?
Yep.
What, you guys won a competition. Okay, we got something here. There's a little smoke.
Yeah.
Then where'd you go from there?
What?
It was actually quite a journey to get to a point to where we actually, one, felt comfortable bringing on outside capital, but two, getting to the company to a stage to where investors were comfortable.
And you're fresh out of college.
And I'm fresh out of college.
Obviously, you need a couple bucks, right?
Yeah.
You still got bills and stuff. Those don't stop.
Well, at that age, you can literally work for beer money. So you don't need a lot, but yeah, you need to be able to live. And so what we all did, I think this is something that most people don't know. A lot of entrepreneurs, they get into this and just from the gate think that they can go raise capital and raise it on great terms. Yeah. Whereas for us, so our team came together in December.
And you never raised money before?
No, never raised money before. It was December of 2012 that our team came together. January of 13 that we ended up winning in that competition. May that we ended up launching in a live hospital environment. We were also going through an accelerator. We were going through N-Motion Accelerator here in Lincoln during that same summer. We all had full-time jobs on the side.
Can you clarify accelerator?
Yeah, absolutely. N-Motion, it's an accelerator here in Lincoln. The idea of an accelerator is to force entrepreneurs through this program to where you learn as much in 3 months as would normally take you 2 years to learn on your own. It's very intense. But it sets you up with a bunch of mentors that all of a sudden have your best interest in mind and at heart. So that's
And you get a little bit of money.
You do get a little bit of money. We didn't
Not
spend like any of it. But we were going through this phase where we all had full-time jobs on the side. We were trying to start this company. We were going through an accelerator that summer, and we were working between 100 to 120 hours a week. And I measured it on my phone. I was averaging between 4 to 4.5 hours of sleep a night. It was rough, but the idea. There were a lot of people. I think it was just the stage that we were at in life and in business, to where a lot of people looked at that opportunity and thought the same thing that you think is, okay, so I can put in this time and the hospital might purchase it. Right. And in our minds, it was like, okay, we can put in this time and we could do this, and the hospital might actually buy it. Yeah. And for us, we were able to kind of take that sort of a risk that early. But yeah, it wasn't
nice when you're young, though.
Right.
Right? Like
When
that.
you can handle that.
That's an advantage for an
nothing
entrepreneur.
else.
It is.
'Cause you don't have any built-in expenses. You don't have a family. You don't have all these things that are pulling
Exactly.
time and money and other things from you.
That's
What do you have
exactly
to
right.
lose? Risk
Right.
it, right?
Except
That's exactly
4.5 hours of sleep.
Yeah. I definitely lost. I lost a few years off the end of my life that I won't get back. That's all right. But it wasn't until October of that year that we finally were able to get some data back from the hospital, sign contracts with Bryan Health, and that's when we finally took on outside capital. So it was a good 10 months.
So how did you go to? What was your first step to raise capital?
Yeah.
If I start a business and I want to go raise capital, what do I do?
Raising capital is all about relationships. So you can go the route of just reaching out to a lot of different investors, which is an okay route. It's the same as kind of selling, to where you need to talk to 100 investors to get 3 to get it and say yes. Yep. I want to invest in this. For me, this was one of the benefits of N-Motion and the mentorship that they provided as part of that program. Jim and Karen Linder were mentors for the N-Motion program. The summer we were going through, I very well knew who Jim and Karen were, and tried reaching out earlier that summer and just couldn't get through. They were on a hiatus, which they do. Extremely busy people, some of the most high-minded people I've ever met, but just wasn't able to get a response back. But I knew Karen was going to be coming to judge pitches one of these particular weeks for the N-Motion program, and so I spent a little extra time on my presentation that particular week, knowing that she was going to be there, and went and presented what we were doing, and just kind of tried to connect with her after that presentation and throughout the day that she was there. And sure enough, after having a conversation, she said, "Hey, I'd love to kind of pull my husband Jim in to take a look at this and show him kind of what you guys are doing." They ended up coming down. We scheduled it on a Husker game day. They were going to be down for the game. And so I was like, yeah, sure, let's meet up at the Fuse office, which is a co-working space here in Lincoln. And it was a Husker game day. Just went up there. We were the only ones. Everybody's out tailgating, and just kind of went through what we were doing. And it was a conversation of, hey, we like this. We like what you guys are doing. We like you. Whenever you guys are ready to raise capital, let's talk.
All right. So then, okay, who was your first check? What were the terms? All that kind of stuff's crazy too. Was it pre-seed? And describe the difference between Series A and pre-seed and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so this would be considered a pre-seed stage when we brought on our first round of capital. I think we did put a press release out, so I think I can say this without much problem. We raised $200,000 on a convertible note. Okay. So it was convertible debt. When you're going and raising as an early stage entrepreneur, there are 2 ways, there are more than 2 ways, but the 2 most common ways to go about it are going to be raising via convertible note or convertible debt, and raising for a priced round.
Which means you take on debt that then they can convert to shares at a later date.
Yep. So what will happen with a convertible note is a note is typically written with the intent of raising a priced round of financing within the next 12 months. So what'll happen is they'll invest a certain amount, and then those shares that'll convert to shares at a discount in that round. Okay. So that's really all you have to negotiate with a convertible note is a discount. Sometimes there's a valuation cap that they'll put on it, which says, hey, if you guys raise at a $10 million valuation, we have a cap at 2 million or 4 million, whatever it is. If the company just ends up blowing up. But typically what you'll see is that it's a discount that you'll negotiate. It makes it really easy and really quick to be able to raise money because that's all you're negotiating is that discount. You're able to push off all the terms of the price round to a later date. And so you can raise money relatively quickly. So that's what we did is we raised a $200,000 note.
So now you feel like a business?
Yeah.
Is this the point that you're like, oh shit, we took money now we're in it?
Well, how are you managing expenses and cash flow before when you didn't really have anything?
I had an Excel spreadsheet that grew to something like a few hundred that we were manually going in every time we would buy something. We would just go toss it in there until we got to a point. Like it was probably another, I don't know, 6-9 months after that we actually converted to like online banking software. But yeah, at that point, I mean, you're just scrappy. Being a business major here at the university, I had formal education in accounting and finance. So I was able to at least know, hey, this is what we should be tracking. That this is what, this is at least prior to setting up more of a formal bookkeeping structure, I at least knew what things we should be keeping track of and so on and so forth.
All right, so then Nobl clicks along. You're there for, how long were you at Nobl?
4 years.
Okay. So, and just recently changed gears to Retail Aware.
Yeah.
Tell us about Retail Aware.
I was fortunate to back in December be able to step into more of an advisor/owner role, not really knowing what the next thing was going to be. Retail Aware kind of just happened upon me, and I can dive into that. But yeah, with Nobl, it was definitely a bittersweet decision. The question I ultimately asked myself was, in which situation would I have the greatest opportunity to learn? 10 years from now, what do I wish I was doing today? And when I asked myself that question, yeah, jumping off the cliff what was the clear answer, because I love that. In the early years of Nobl, there was all of that every single day. You're forced to learn at such an accelerated rate. I think as the company continued to grow, you kind of lost that a little bit. As the business matures, you lose a lot of that early. Yeah, exactly. It becomes less about growing, more about managing, so on and so forth. And so I think I just subconsciously was kind of getting antsy for that next thing and whatever that next thing might be. But there's a lot that I want to accomplish by the time I'm 30. And so I was kind of excited to get back into a rapid learning environment. Which we're absolutely getting with Retail Aware.
Okay, so tell us broad strokes of what Retail Aware is.
Yeah, Retail Aware, it's a hardware SaaS company. What we've developed is a sensor that's able to detect foot traffic and customer analytics in physical brick and mortar retail stores. So it's a passive sensor. If we were to plug it in here at the bar, we could tell you all the foot traffic that was able to come through. If somebody came back a few days later, how long they were actually here. So if
cell phones, how do they know that?
So we're using passive.
I don't have a chip in me yet.
I know.
It's coming, but I'm going to get,
Certainly coming, but yeah, not yet. We're using ambient phone signals.
So it's the front of Gap, right? And I walk in front of Gap and I say, oh, I like this jacket or whatever, but then I go to somewhere else, I go to the movies, but it knows that I came back and looked at the jacket again, right? Yep. So that's valuable data to the retailer.
Yep.
Right, and that would eventually be your customer.
Yep, that's exactly right. So one side of it, and there's a lot we can do with this sort of data.
Sounds a little creepy to me.
I know.
Just honestly, it's a creepy that we can do that.
Yeah.
What I've learned though is being in that space, the Internet of Things, and security, and all the lawsuits that are happening and out there right now. I've realized. There are really creepy companies. What we're doing is barely even
on the
scratching
creepy scale. You're like down here.
Yeah, that's what I'm realizing very seriously.
All right, so what's your role at Retail Aware?
Yeah. So
what's your day-to-day look like? What are you guys doing right now?
Yeah. So my role is CEO. Okay. Preston Badir is my co-founder and CTO, and then Keith Fix is an advisor and pre-seed investor in the business, and this is kind of his brainchild. Day to day, every single day changes, and that's something that I love about it. I always despise the idea of doing the same thing day in and day out, and that's one of the things that drew me into entrepreneurship in the first place. So every day is something drastically different. If you look at the different responsibilities, and I've gone and created like mind maps to keep track of all the things that you have going on, because you're in this sort of a role, and as an early stage entrepreneur, your CEO, your CFO, your head of legal, your head of HR, you're also handling a lot of the PR.
So are you guys right now, are you guys hiring, or are you scaring up dollars? Are you trying to get retail people to sign up for it? Like what are the major things that you're working on right now?
Yeah, so right now we're definitely in the recruitment stage, definitely having conversations, identifying what people we're going to be looking to bring on. What happened with this company was back in November, December of 2016, Keith and Preston were asked by a customer, hey, do you have any way of getting these sort of analytics? So they went and in a matter of a couple days put together a device that they plugged in and were able to start getting this data. So they went back to this customer and said, hey, yeah, we can absolutely do this. Here's the data we can get. Here's what it would cost. Customer said, great. We're also in that stage where we're identifying what the pricing structure actually is. So the couple models that we can go is one, charging for the device, and then charging a monthly fee for the analytics behind it. Another is to simply gift the device and then charge a higher monthly, more of like a rental type agreement. So we're figuring out what that looks like. I can tell you right now we're around the $30 to $40 per month range with what we're looking to do with this sort of device and this sort of data.
And then what's your next step? Do you walk into we keep saying gaps, so like let's just do you just walk into a gap and talk to the manager and be like, hey, here's this thing, because they can't make that decision.
Right, not locally, usually.
Not usually. There are stores that'll have some autonomy like that. But one of the great things about this company is Keith Fix, our founder, and then we also have an advisor and another pre-seed investor who've been in the retail space for a combined 30 plus years. So they've been able to establish relationships in this industry to where we're not having to go knock on doors. They've built these relationships over the years.
Like, hey, buddy.
And they can reach out and yeah.
This in and we'll see. We get analytics then. Do you have any in stores right now?
Yeah. Yep. So we have about a dozen devices that are live in the field today that we're testing. But what happened back in October, November is this customer that they were kind of playing around with this device. They came back and said, hey, congratulations. We wrote you guys into this RFP. We need 2,000 units. How soon can you ship? Right. He was driving, I think, from Lincoln to Omaha at the time when he got this phone call. And he, in Keith's own words, shit his pants and had to pull over to call Preston and be like, hey, man, here's what's going on. How can we do this?
Could you? Or can you? Like how long ago was that?
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's what they brought me on to really, and that's where in terms of the traction methodology, I'm not sure how familiar you are. But the idea of integrators versus visionaries, I found myself at Nobl being more of a visionary, and what I'm finding at Retail Aware is I'm having to take and fitting into more of an integrator type role, and being able to take, hey, we have all these things that are up in the air. We need to bring these down. We need to execute. We need to get this done. I think it's kind of the opposite problem that most startups face. Most startups, it's a situation of, if we build it, will they come?
What was the most difficult stuff for you? I mean, I'm sure the exit was interesting. Raising money, like all these things that I've never experienced. Tell us about it. What was the hardest thing for you?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur, very few people realize what it takes to actually build a business and get it to where it is. There are a lot of expectations, expectations from friends, from family, from employees, from investors, from founders, whatever it might be. And so I think not only that piece, but then when you're going back and you are CEO, you're CFO, head of legal, head of HR, handling all the PR opportunities, I think it's just a lot to balance. And I think it does take a unique person to be able to do that, which is why I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle. I think for me, one of my skill sets, and if we're talking Gallup strengths, my number one strength is adaptability. And so I think I have this kind of ability to be able to transition back and forth between these different things and handling those expectations. but it is really challenging. And I think few people really understand how challenging it actually is. So I think that's been one of the biggest challenges. But then it does force you to grow and learn and handle a lot of things. You have to go back in terms of time management, setting priorities, and
Your mindset changes when you
Right.
realize it's all your fault.
Right.
You know,
Everything
like,
is you.
like everything, like if Sally's not getting along with Jimmy, you hired those people,
Yeah.
or if, or Jimmy's not performing, like it's on you. Ultimately, it's your shoulders, right?
Right.
Yep.
That changes how you do stuff sometimes.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So I think that's been one of the most challenging pieces. Is just having to juggle a million different things, and then also try and be able to like sleep at night and keep personal life in check as well. It does like that much demand does create a lot of stress and it being able to
You lose
find
friends.
ways.
It's a real thing. It's a
Right.
lonely place.
Yep.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, it is absolutely.
What advice do you have for a budding entrepreneur or someone who wants to do what you've done?
Yeah, I think it's something that I realized back in college. As I was really getting into the entrepreneurship scene at the university and kind of figuring out what I wanted to do next, I started just reading a lot, absorbing a lot of information, a lot of business entrepreneurship books, and the advice that I kept hearing over and over again was just start something. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter how small,
Get on the field.
just whatever it is, just start. And I know that's kind of a cliche answer, but it's so very true. It doesn't matter how small it is. Go sell bubble gum. Very seriously, go sell bubble gum on campus. It doesn't matter what it is. For me, it was myself and a really good friend in college that we started it. It was a web development, app development company that went nowhere. We worked on it for probably 4 or 5 months. I figured out how much I despise back-end development. Back-end coding, but it was that first step. That's all it was. It was just a tiny snowball that made it easier to start the next thing. And I learned, and when you're in school, like all you're giving up is time. And so I think there are very few excuses to not try something in school or in college. It's the perfect opportunity. Yeah, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a spouse, you don't have kids. It is the perfect opportunity to start something, whatever it is. And it does, I can tell you, it absolutely makes it easier to start the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So
There's actually a scientific principle about that. It's called the corridor principle. You should look it up.
I will look.
Yeah, there's a psychologist in the 80s that actually determined that once you start one business and you continue to do it habitually, you develop this like addiction because you start to see opportunities just open up. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any do-overs? Anything you would do differently if you went back and did it now?
No.
Good answer.
It's something I'm pretty passionate about. I don't think that I would be where I am today had I done things differently. And that's just one of my philosophies on life. If I were to go back, I would do everything the same. Even the mistakes, those moments, those oh shit moments to where you screw up terribly, those are the things that define kind of how you make decisions in the future and who you are as a person. So that's something I'm pretty passionate about.
I think it's all stitched together, right?
Yeah, right.
Like one of my favorite things is Tom Brady is obviously the GOAT, right? He's unreal. If he wasn't drafted in the 7th round, he wouldn't have had a chip on his shoulder,
Right.
and that would have been different, right? If he's the number 1 draft pick, he comes out cocky, doesn't work as hard. I think it all. Jordan didn't make his varsity team, right?
Yeah.
That stuff mattered in the grand scheme of things. That had to happen to make them who they were.
Absolutely.
I agree
yeah.
entirely.
So.
Yep. Well, speaking of philosophies, can you fill us in? You have an interesting social media philosophy we want to hear real quick from you.
Yeah, what was I think the question leading into that?
I was leading to like, is there any of your social media we should blast out to get you notoriety? But you said, I got some hot fire to spit. I think I'm paraphrasing maybe, but like hot fire coming about something different than most people are thinking.
Yeah, so please feel free to reach out on social media. I have a Facebook, I have a Twitter that hasn't been checked or like nothing has been posted in a couple years. I think, you could probably find a MySpace. No, social media is one of those things. And I do think that it really depends on the business that you're in.
Yep.
I know that there are entrepreneurs here in Lincoln, like Bulu Box does an awesome job.
Yeah.
Paul Jarrett is always posting because like that's
who he
building his brand and that's really important for their business and makes perfect sense for their business. So I think if that is the kind of business you're in, it makes perfect sense. For me, and for our sort of a business, and even in healthcare, it was less, I think, critical to have that sort of a presence. And me personally, it's just something I don't take time to keep. Snapchat, I can't do it. I can't. I've tried twice. I've had people tell me like how.
Distracting.
I think it is, and I have heard good arguments that it does strengthen relationships, because if you have friends that you're just not able to see more than once a year, being able to still keep up on what's happening in their lives, their big life moments, whatever it is, I think it takes away from human interaction. I think devices are disconnecting us, are more harmful than helpful, and I love stuff like this. Instead of reaching out to a friend or snapping a friend, I'd rather call them up and be like, hey man, you want to grab drinks? Whatever it might be. So I try and disengage from technology because I think that's really important too. I think I'm a millennial based upon when I was born. You probably are too. But I think that there's a gap with people. I'm already that old man that's like, God, these kids these days, whatever it might be. But I think it's so true is that people 4 or 5 years younger than me, the kids in college these days, I think there's a major problem with this need for social acceptance. And it's taking away, I think, from having to go and build legitimate, meaningful relationships with people. That's just me.
We probably should
Yeah, let's do last calls.
Are you doing your last call? He has a last call.
Last call!
All right, we have rapid fire questions for you. So,
Good.
So quick answers, top of mind.
I'm so bad at this.
Okay.
Oh, I don't like
Well,
this.
this will be a telltale. This first question here. What was your best subject in school? I think where you learned this. Math. Okay. What was your most memorable Christmas present?
Snowmobile.
Really?
Wait,
How
What,
long?
what, what are the little
Jesus,
baby?
you're balling. What age were you?
He was
The rest drops is good.
It's one of the, like kids now have like those little like go-kart bikes, like the mini. It was one of those. Like it was just a little guy that we could run around. I don't know, probably like 6 or 7.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeez, cool.
All right. See, he's talking about shoes over here, and you're like snowmobile. All right. Would you rather go swimming with the sharks or climbing Mount Everest?
Swim with the sharks.
Oh, have you already done that?
No, but it's scary to me. Like being in an environment where you can't get away. Like I feel like that would be a crazy thrill. And I've also been camping in like freezing temperatures to where
Can't do Mount Everest, regardless of heights, like the freezing part.
I can do that with the right, but no, I don't think that would be.
Yeah. Okay. Plus, when you're on Mount Everest and trying to figure out like where do you go to the bathroom and all that stuff,
Anywhere.
it just makes me. Ugh. What is the first thing you notice about a girl?
Smile.
Oh, all right.
Matt's asking that of all the guys. And your first real job?
Janitor.
Janitor, we did. We learned a lot of these. Like we had written these up in advance, so very cool.
Thank you for your time, Brett.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
This was fun.
Anything on the back end? How do we find Retail Aware? Can we do anything for you on our end?
Yep, you can check us out at retailaware.com. We're still in stealth mode, very much in stealth mode with the business. But I think retail is poised for some phenomenal disruption in the next few years, with e-commerce building physical brick and mortar and traditional retail having to find a way to compete or keep up with that. I'm super excited for what the next few years will hold. I think that we're very well positioned to be a part of that. So yes, if you own a retail store, would love to talk, find out what kind of data you're getting now. Our goal is to be the Google Analytics of physical brick and mortar stores. Yep. So the same sort of analytics e-commerce websites got 10 years ago, bring those same sorts of insights to physical brick and mortar.
Very cool.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Brett Byman. We have some giveaways for you as well if you want to join the email list at barnapkinbusiness.co. And check us out on Facebook because we have some behind the scenes footage of Matthew's wardrobe is looking a little spiffy these days.
Freshy.
Tell us what's going on with that.
Cameron Van Hoos is a good friend of mine. She just started her personal styling business. I'm the guinea pig.
So you're going to be seeing, we see stripes today. I told him olive green is the new beige. That's what I was told. But yeah, we're styling. So watch for that coming. Maybe we'll give away a styling session or something like that somewhere down the line. So cool. We're on Facebook at Bar Napkin Business and Instagram at Bar Napkin Business. And we'll see you next time.